Commander Jack Morgan stood at the viewport of Earth's orbital defense station, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of the holographic display. The stars hung like distant diamonds against the black canvas of space. 20 years in the Defense Force had prepared him for many things, but not for what happened next. "Commander, we have something unusual," said Technician Lisa Wright, her voice steady despite the excitement in her eyes. Long-range scanners picked up a signal from the Cygnus sector. "It's not random noise." Morgan moved to her station, leaning over to study the pulsing waveform on her screen. "How far?" "About 42 light-years, sir. The pattern repeats every 12.8 seconds. Our computers confirm it's artificial." The command center fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had been sending signals into space for over a century, but this was the first clear response. Morgan tapped his communication badge. "Get Admiral Reed up here now." Within the hour, the station's conference room filled with Earth's top military and scientific minds. Admiral Eliza Reed, a tall woman with silver-streaked hair and the quiet authority that came from decades of leadership, stood at the head of the table. "Our linguists have been working on the signal," she said, activating the room's central display. "It contains mathematical sequences, atomic structures, and what appears to be a language primer. Classic first contact protocol." Dr. Ben Harris, the station's chief scientist, cleared his throat. "We've managed to decode parts of it. It's a distress call from a civilization calling themselves the Luminar. They're facing extinction from something they call the Void. Some kind of cosmic threat we don't fully understand yet." "They're asking for help?" Morgan asked, his brow furrowed. "Yes," Harris nodded. "Specifically, they're asking for physical intervention. Their technology seems advanced, but whatever this threat is, they can't stop it alone." The room erupted in debate. Earth had only recently developed faster-than-light travel, with just a handful of colony ships sent to nearby star systems. The idea of mounting a rescue mission 42 light-years away seemed impossible. "We can't ignore this," Reed said firmly, silencing the room. "If they have technology to send this signal, they likely have knowledge worth saving. And if this void is real, it could eventually threaten human space too." General Thompson slammed his hand on the table. "It could be a trap. First alien contact, and they want us to send our ships. We'd be fools. Or it could be the greatest opportunity in human history," Reed countered, "to make an ally that could share knowledge beyond our understanding." The debate continued for days as more of the signal was decoded. Images of the Luminar showed tall, slender beings with luminescent skin that seemed almost translucent. Their world appeared beautiful but strangely uniform, lacking the harsh variations of Earth's environments. Morgan studied the reports in his quarters, unable to sleep. Something in the message nagged at him, a subtext in the way the Luminar described their situation. When the United Earth Council met for the final vote, Morgan requested permission to speak. "The Luminar are from a world without extremes," he said. "No violent storms, no tectonic activity, no radical temperature changes. Their message shows they've contacted other species before us, yet none have helped. I believe I know why. Earth is what xenobiologists call a death world. Harsh, unpredictable, dangerous. We evolved to survive conditions that would kill most species. The Luminar need Deathworlders. They need humans." Admiral Reed stepped forward, her voice filled with determination. "Then that's exactly what they'll get. I propose we assemble the first human defense fleet and answer this call, not just for them, but for us, to show the galaxy what humanity can do." The vote passed by a narrow margin. Operation Distant Light was born. The massive hangar of the United Earth Spaceport buzzed with activity. Workers in exosuits welded enormous hull plates, while cargo shuttles delivered components from factories worldwide. At the center of this organized chaos stood the skeleton of what would become humanity's flagship, the UES Resilience. Chief Engineer Tom Wilson walked along a suspended catwalk, his worn boots clanging against the metal grating. He stopped to watch a team install the new fusion core, the heart that would power the massive vessel across unimaginable distances. "Impressive, isn't it?" said a voice beside him. Wilson turned to find Dr. Anna Miller, the fleet's lead xenobiologist. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her eyes reflected the blue glow of the fusion core. 4 months ago, this was just blueprints, Wilson replied, pride evident in his voice. Now look at her. Biggest ship humans have ever built. Below them, a team of technicians guided a massive section of the ship's armor plating into position. The special alloy, designed to withstand micrometeorite impacts and radiation, gleamed under the hangar lights. "I heard the council almost canceled the project yesterday," Anna said quietly. Wilson nodded grimly. "The Eastern Coalition threatened to pull their funding. Said we should focus on defending Earth, not rushing off to help aliens we've never met." What changed their minds? Admiral Reed. She told them that whoever reaches the Luminar first gets access to their technology. That got their attention. In the command center overlooking the construction, Admiral Reed and Commander Morgan reviewed the growing fleet roster on a large holographic display. 7 ships confirmed, Morgan said, pointing to the projections. Resilience as flagship, 3 combat frigates, 2 science vessels, and a medical ship. Reed's face remained stern. Not enough. If this void is half as dangerous as the Luminar claim, we need more firepower. The shipyards in orbit around Mars have 2 more frigates almost ready, Morgan offered. We could expedite their completion. Do it, and double the training rotations for all crew. Across the complex in the xenobiology lab, Dr. David Lee studied the Luminar messages with growing fascination. Their language has no words for certain concepts, he explained to Security Director Marcus Stone, a former military man with a perpetual frown. No word for fight or survive as we understand them. Their world never required them to develop those instincts. Stone crossed his arms. So they're soft, fragile, different, Lee corrected. Their planet has stable weather, minimal seasonal changes, few natural disasters. They evolved for cooperation, not competition. And now they need Deathworlders to save them, Stone said with a hint of pride. Meanwhile, Wilson oversaw the installation of the experimental faster-than-light drive. The technology was new, tested only on unmanned probes until now. If these calculations are off by even 0.01%, he told his engineering team, we could end up halfway across the galaxy or inside a star. One young engineer raised her hand. Sir, why not send unmanned ships first? Why risk human lives? Wilson's expression softened. Because this isn't just about answering a distress call. It's about showing the galaxy what humans can do. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us daily. Storms, earthquakes, predators. Earth toughened us. Now that strength has purpose. 3 months later, the fleet stood ready. Thousands gathered to watch the launch, their faces filled with mixed emotions. Pride, fear, hope. Admiral Reed addressed the crews before departure, her voice broadcasting across all ships. Today, humanity reaches beyond our solar system, not as conquerors, but as saviors. The stars have called, and we have answered. Remember your training, trust your shipmates, and make Earth proud. As the massive engines of the Resilience flared to life, Commander Morgan took his place on the bridge, gazing at the view screen showing Earth growing smaller behind them. Set course for the Luminar system, he ordered. Let's show the universe what Deathworlders can do. The vast darkness of interstellar space stretched before the human fleet as they ventured deeper into the unknown. The 7 ships moved in tight formation, their engines leaving faint blue trails against the black canvas. On the bridge of the Resilience, Commander Morgan studied the star charts projected on the main view screen. Status report, he ordered, his voice calm despite the tension that hung in the air. All systems functioning at optimal levels, replied Navigator James Taylor. We're holding steady at Lightfold Factor 6. Estimated arrival at the Luminar system in 18 days. Morgan nodded, satisfied. The experimental faster-than-light drive had performed better than expected, allowing the fleet to cover immense distances in weeks rather than centuries. But the journey was taking its toll on the crew. Humans had never traveled this far from Earth before. In the recreation hall, Dr. Anna Miller conducted daily training simulations. Today's lesson: preparing the crew for their first meeting with the Luminar. Based on their communications, they evolved in an environment with approximately 0.6 Earth gravity, she explained, showing holographic images of the tall, willowy aliens. Their bodies are adapted for efficiency, not durability. Their skin is semi-translucent, allowing them to absorb energy directly from their sun. Security Director Stone crossed his arms skeptically. They sound like they'd break in a strong breeze. That's exactly why they need us, Anna replied. What's merely uncomfortable for humans would be deadly for them. Remember, they come from a world without natural disasters or extreme weather patterns. Meanwhile, in engineering, Tom Wilson worked tirelessly on a new problem. The fleet had encountered an unexpected radiation belt that was interfering with their long-range communications. We need to boost the shield output, he told his team as they rerouted power systems. Otherwise, we'll lose contact with Earth entirely. As Wilson worked, the ship's alarms suddenly blared. The fleet had detected something massive approaching at high speed. On the bridge, Morgan ordered battle stations. All hands prepare for possible hostile contact. The unknown object slowed as it approached, revealing itself as a ship twice the size of the Resilience. Its design was unlike anything humans had seen before. Curved, organic shapes, with pulsing lights along its hull. "We're receiving a transmission," reported Communications Officer Linda Parker. "It's not Luminar." A face appeared on the view screen, humanoid but distinctly alien, with ridged brow and golden skin that seemed to shimmer with metallic qualities. "Human vessels, this is Trade Captain Dorn of the Travax Collective." The alien spoke in surprisingly good English. "You are far from your territory. State your purpose." Morgan stepped forward. "I am Commander Jack Morgan of the United Earth Fleet. We're responding to a distress signal from the Luminar." The alien's expression shifted to what humans could only interpret as shock. "You travel to the void willingly. You received the same distress call we did, but you answered it." "Of course we answered it," Morgan replied, confused by the alien's reaction. "They need help." Captain Dorn studied the humans with newfound interest. "Fascinating. You must be the Deathworlders we've heard rumors about." No other spacefaring species would approach the anomaly, destroying the Luminar system. Dr. Lee, who had joined Morgan on the bridge, leaned forward. "You mean others received the distress call but ignored it?" "Not ignored," Dorn corrected. "Deemed suicidal. The void consumes everything it touches." The Galactic Assembly declared the Luminar a tragic but inevitable loss. The implications dawned on the human crew. They weren't just the first to answer. They were the only ones. Morgan's jaw tightened. "Well, we haven't come 42 light-years to turn back now." After sharing navigational data, the Travax vessel prepared to depart. "We wish you luck, humans," Captain Dorn said, his tone suggesting he thought they would need more than luck. "If you survive, the collective would be interested in future discussions." As the alien ship disappeared into the darkness, Morgan gathered his senior officers. "We always knew this mission was dangerous," he said firmly. "Now we know it's considered impossible. But that's what humans do best, the impossible." Anna smiled slightly. "After all, we're Deathworlders. It's about time the galaxy learned what that really means." The human fleet emerged from Lightfold into the Luminar system, and a collective gasp filled the bridge of the Resilience. Before them hung the beautiful blue-green world, but a quarter of its surface appeared consumed by a strange darkness that defied description. It wasn't just black. It seemed to bend light around it, creating a visual distortion that hurt human eyes to observe directly. "Sensors are having trouble reading that thing," Navigator Taylor reported, adjusting his instruments. It's like looking at a hole in reality. Commander Morgan leaned forward in his chair. So that's the void. It's expanding, Dr. Miller noted, studying the scientific readings. Comparing it to the Luminar transmissions we received, it's grown by nearly 15% since they sent their distress call. Communications Officer Parker's console lit up. Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the planet. A moment later, the view screen filled with the image of a Luminar. In person, or as close to in person as a transmission allowed, the alien was even more striking than the holographic projections had suggested. Standing nearly 7 feet tall, the being had a slender, almost delicate build. Its skin glowed with a faint internal light, and large, multifaceted eyes dominated its elongated face. Earth vessels, the Luminar spoke, its voice melodic and precise. I am Council Leader Thal of the Luminar Concord. Your arrival brings hope we had nearly abandoned. Morgan stepped forward. Council Leader, I am Commander Jack Morgan of the United Earth Fleet. We've come to offer assistance against the threat you call the Void. The alien's head tilted in what might have been surprise. You came in person. We expected perhaps technological assistance or guidance. To risk yourselves. That's how humans solve problems, Morgan replied simply. We show up. Within hours, the senior officers shuttled down to the Luminar capital, a sprawling city of crystalline towers and arching bridges far from the advancing void. The lower gravity made the humans feel strangely buoyant, while the Luminar watched in fascination as the visitors moved with what seemed to them incredible strength and speed. Council Leader Thal led them into a grand chamber where other Luminar officials waited. The aliens moved with flowing grace, their bodies seemingly unburdened by physical strain. Forgive our surprise, Thal said as they settled around a circular table. In our communications with other species, none considered direct intervention. They deemed the risk too great. Dr. Miller studied the Luminar with professional interest. Your world is beautiful, but very different from Earth. We evolved in a much harsher environment. Yes, another Luminar named Vel agreed. We have studied your transmissions. Your planet experiences storms, earthquakes, temperature extremes, conditions that would kill Luminar within minutes. You call such worlds Deathworlds, yes. Some scientists use that term, Miller nodded. Vel's skin pulsed with light, possibly their version of emotional expression. Perhaps only Deathworlders could have the physical resistance to approach the void. Our scientists cannot even study it directly. The gravitational distortions destroy our equipment and harm our bodies. Security Director Stone, who had been silently observing, finally spoke. Show us everything you know about this thing. We need to understand what we're fighting. The Luminar activated a holographic display showing the void's progress over time. It had appeared suddenly 2 local years ago, starting as a small distortion that quickly grew. Initial Luminar attempts to study it had ended in tragedy. The void doesn't just consume matter, Thal explained, voice heavy with grief. It seems to break down the fundamental forces that hold reality together. As the briefing continued, an alarm sounded. The void had suddenly accelerated its expansion. Morgan watched the fear ripple through the Luminar Council, visible as waves of dimming light across their bodies. These advanced beings had never evolved to face existential threats. Their civilization had developed in peace and harmony, without the constant struggle that defined human history. We'll need to set up a research base near the edge of the void, Morgan said firmly. Our ships are built to withstand extreme conditions. And our bodies. He flexed his hand. We're tougher than we look. Thal's large eyes studied Morgan with new understanding. Perhaps this is why the universe sent us Deathworlders when we called for help. You were made for this fight. The main science lab aboard the Resilience hummed with activity. Holographic displays showed the void from every angle, with data streams flowing across multiple screens. Human scientists worked alongside Luminar researchers, an unlikely alliance of species from vastly different worlds. Chief Engineer Wilson stood before a 3-dimensional model of the void, his face illuminated by its eerie glow. It defies our understanding of physics, he muttered, rubbing his tired eyes. It's not just consuming matter. It's unraveling the fabric of space-time itself. Dr. Anna Miller approached with her own findings. For days, she had been studying how the void affected different materials and biological samples. I've discovered something interesting, she said, pulling up her data. Human tissue samples show remarkable resistance to the void's effects. They break down eventually, but last nearly 4 times longer than luminar samples. Commander Morgan, who had been silently observing, stepped forward. Are you saying humans can physically approach the void more safely than the luminar? Precisely, Miller nodded. Our bodies evolved to withstand radiation, pressure changes, and environmental toxins. The luminar never developed these defenses. Their homeworld never required them. The lab doors slid open as Thal and 2 other luminar entered. Their luminescent skin pulsed with anxious patterns as they moved among the humans. The void has accelerated again, Thal announced gravely. At current rates, it will reach our capital city in 19 days. A heavy silence fell over the room. 19 days to save an entire civilization. Wilson suddenly snapped his fingers, and Earth gestured at startled the luminar. Deep mining equipment, he exclaimed. What? Morgan asked, confused by the sudden outburst. On Earth, we developed specialized equipment to mine resources from unstable volcanic vents, Wilson explained, growing excited. The technology uses reinforced field generators to stabilize surrounding terrain. What if we adapted it to create a containment field around the void? The luminar scientist named Vel stepped closer, fascinated. Our attempts at containment failed. The energy requirements were beyond our capabilities. That's because you tried to stop it completely, Wilson replied. I'm suggesting we slow it down first, then work on reversal. For hours, the team refined the concept. The plan would require deploying specialized field generators at precise points around the void's perimeter. Each generator would need to be manually calibrated by teams working dangerously close to the phenomenon. It's incredibly risky, Morgan said, reviewing the completed plan. We'd need volunteers willing to approach the void. I'll go, Security Director Stone stated without hesitation. Me too, Miller added. My expertise will be needed for on-site adjustments. Word of the plan spread quickly through both human and luminar communities. By evening, a council meeting was called with representatives from both species. Not all luminars supported the human plan. An elder named Lorne rose to object. These aliens arrived mere days ago, he said, skin flashing with doubtful patterns. Now we entrust our survival to their primitive technology, their mining equipment. Morgan stood to address the council. With respect, council member, it's precisely our primitive approach that might save you. The luminar evolved in paradise. Peaceful, stable, perfect. Humans evolved through crisis and catastrophe. Every advance in our history came from overcoming disaster. He pointed to the hologram of the approaching void. This is just another disaster to overcome. Thal's skin brightened with hope. The Deathworlders offer what we lack, not just technology, but perspective born from struggle. As the council deliberated, a new signal arrived from orbit. The human ships had detected additional vessels entering the system. 3 ships of unknown design. Communications Officer Parker reported. They're broadcasting identification as observers from the Galactic Assembly. Morgan smiled grimly. Word's getting around. The galaxy wants to see if the Deathworlders can do the impossible. Thal approached Morgan privately after the meeting. The council approved your plan. We place our faith in human hands. Not just human hands, Morgan corrected, extending his hand in the Earth gesture of partnership. We do this together. After a moment's hesitation, Thal reached out and clasped Morgan's hand with slender fingers. Together, the modified shuttlecraft approached the edge of the void, its hull vibrating under the strain of the gravitational distortions. Inside, Commander Morgan checked the seal on his protective suit one final time. Next to him, Security Director Stone, and 4 other human volunteers made similar preparations. Remember, Morgan addressed his team. We have approximately 40 minutes before the radiation levels become dangerous, even with our suits. Place the field generators exactly according to the coordinates and get back to the shuttle immediately. Dr. Miller's voice came through the communication system from her position on the science vessels stationed at a safer distance. The sensors are active. We'll monitor your vital signs throughout the mission. If anything spikes into the red zone, you return immediately. The shuttle doors opened, and Morgan felt the strange pull of the void, not quite like gravity, more like the fabric of reality itself stretching. The blackness before them wasn't just an absence of light. It seemed to consume light, creating visual distortions that made several team members visibly nauseous. "Stay focused," Morgan ordered. "Remember your training." They moved out in pairs, each carrying a field generator developed by Wilson and the Luminar scientists, a combination of Earth's robust mining technology and Luminar's advanced energy systems. The devices were heavy, even in the planet's lower gravity, requiring 2 humans to transport each one. Stone walked alongside Morgan, his face tight with concentration. "You feel that? Like something's pulling at your insides?" Morgan nodded. "The void doesn't just affect matter. It affects everything, even time." They reached the first deployment point, setting up the generator with practiced movements. As Morgan activated the device, it emitted a soft blue field that pushed back against the darkness, creating a visible boundary. "First generator online," he reported, unable to hide the satisfaction in his voice. Across the perimeter, the other teams reported similar success. The plan seemed to be working, until Team 3 encountered trouble. "The ground is unstable here," came the strained voice of Lieutenant Rivera. "The void is causing some kind of localized time dilation. The generator won't synchronize." Morgan checked his readings. "Miller, are you seeing this?" "Yes," she replied, her voice tight with concern. "The void is adapting to our containment field. It's accelerating in sectors where the field is weakest." Morgan and Stone rushed to assist, fighting against increasing distortion effects. As they reached Team 3, Morgan saw Rivera struggling to align the generator while his partner fought to steady it against trembling ground. "We need to recalibrate all generators to compensate," Miller advised. "But that requires manual adjustment at each site. The radiation levels are already approaching dangerous thresholds," Stone warned, checking his meter. Morgan made a quick decision. Teams 1 and 4 returned to the shuttle. "Stone, help Team 3 stabilize their generator. I'll recalibrate Team 2's position." As Morgan worked, the proximity to the void intensified its effects. His movements became sluggish, as if moving through thick liquid. The radiation alarm in his suit began to beep urgently. "Morgan, your exposure levels are critical," Miller's voice warned. "Get out of there now." "Almost done," he replied, fingers working the final adjustments. Suddenly, the ground beneath him lurched. A tendril of darkness, like a living thing, reached out from the void. Morgan jumped back, but not quickly enough. The darkness touched his boot, and searing pain shot up his leg. "Commander!" Stone shouted, running toward him despite the danger. Morgan activated the final sequence and stumbled away from the generator. The combined field stabilized, pushing back against the void with newfound strength. The tendril that had reached for Morgan recoiled, retreating into the main mass. Stone reached Morgan, supporting him as they limped back to the shuttle. "Did you see that?" Morgan gasped through waves of pain. It reacted, like it was alive. From orbit, the Luminar and human scientists watched in amazement as the void's expansion slowed, then stopped. "It's working," Wilson breathed, hardly daring to believe the readings. But Vel, the Luminar scientist, pointed to new data appearing on their screens. "There's something else. The field isn't just containing it. It's revealing something within the void. A structure." "A structure?" Wilson asked, confused. "You mean it's artificial?" "We need to know for sure," Vel replied, skin pulsing with excitement and fear. This changes everything. The combined human Luminar scientific team worked tirelessly in the central command center of the Resilience. Holographic displays showed the void, now contained by a shimmering field of blue energy. The strange structure within it appeared more clearly as the field generators stabilized the phenomenon. It's definitely artificial, Wilson confirmed, analyzing the latest data. The void isn't a natural occurrence. Someone made it. Commander Morgan, his leg bandaged where the void had touched him, leaned heavily on a crutch as he studied the display. A weapon. A planet killer, Dr. Miller agreed, her face grim. Designed to consume entire worlds. Thal and the Luminar Council had joined the humans aboard the Resilience. Their luminescent skin pulsed with patterns that humans had come to recognize as deep concern. Who would create such a thing? Thal asked, voice barely above a whisper. The answer came from an unexpected source. 3 representatives from the Galactic Assembly had requested permission to board after witnessing the successful containment. The lead delegate, a being called Sorix with metallic scales and 4 arms, examined the data with ancient eyes. In the early days of interstellar civilization, long before your species achieved spaceflight, there was a race called the Harbingers. Sorix explained. They believed that only the strongest deserved to survive among the stars. They created weapons to test emerging civilizations. Tests? Stone asked, voice hard with anger. They murdered entire species as tests. Their philosophy was cruel but simple. Sorix continued. Any species worthy of joining galactic society should be able to overcome their challenges. The Harbingers disappeared millions of years ago, but their devices remained scattered throughout the galaxy, dormant until they detect advanced technology. Morgan looked at the Luminar, understanding dawning. The Luminar were peaceful, advanced, but not warriors, not survivors, not Deathworlders, Miller added softly. Thal stepped forward, skin glowing with newfound confidence. But we found allies who were. The following days brought remarkable changes. With the void contained, the Luminar shared their advanced technology with humanity as promised. Earth ships were upgraded with new propulsion systems, medical breakthroughs, and energy technology beyond human understanding. In return, humans taught the Luminar about resilience, adaptation, and the strength that comes from overcoming adversity. News of the human success spread rapidly across the galaxy. Species that had previously dismissed Earth as a backwater death world now sent representatives, eager to establish diplomatic relations. The United Earth Council, seeing opportunity in this new galactic awareness, formally established the United Earth Fleet as a permanent peacekeeping and exploration force. 1 month after the containment of the void, Commander Morgan stood on the bridge of the newly refitted Resilience, preparing for departure. Admiral Reed had arrived from Earth to oversee the expanded mission. The Galactic Assembly has formally invited Earth to join as a provisional member, Reed informed Morgan. They're particularly interested in our assistance with other Harbinger devices that have been detected. So we went from unknown Deathworlders to galactic troubleshooters in one mission, Morgan observed with a small smile. It's what humans do best, Reed replied. Solve the impossible problems. On the Luminar homeworld, massive reconstruction efforts were underway. The damage caused by the void was extensive, but not irreparable. More importantly, the Luminar themselves were changing, inspired by their human allies to develop new strengths while maintaining their peaceful nature. As the Earth fleet prepared to depart, Thal presented Morgan with a crystal that glowed with inner light. This contains all our historical and scientific knowledge, the Luminar leader explained. A gift between friends. Morgan accepted it with a respectful nod. We came as rescuers. We leave as allies. The ships of the United Earth Fleet moved into formation, their upgraded engines glowing with Luminar technology. As they accelerated toward their next mission, no one noticed a small probe hidden in the shadow of a distant moon, recording everything. Inside the probe, An intelligence far older than humanity or the Luminar processed what it had witnessed. The Deathworlders had proven themselves worthy of attention. The true tests were just beginning. The stars looked calm from the viewing deck of the Olive Branch. Captain Thomas Reed stood with his hands behind his back, watching the black space around his ship. For 50 years, humans had been part of the galactic community. They traded, shared knowledge, and made friends with many alien races. "Captain, we have a problem," said Officer Bell, her voice shaking. "Unknown ships just appeared on our sensors." Reed walked quickly to the main bridge. The screen showed 5 large ships moving toward them. Each ship was 3 times bigger than the Olive Branch. "Send the standard greeting," Reed ordered. He kept his voice steady, but felt worry growing in his chest. The screen flickered and showed a gray-skinned alien with sharp teeth. "Human vessel," the alien said in a rough voice. "I am Commander Drac of the Vorn Dominion. Your weak species has been allowed to play among the stars for too long." Reed tried to stay calm. "Commander, we are a peaceful ship on a diplomatic mission. The United Earth government would welcome talks with the Vorn." Silence. Drac's yellow eyes narrowed. "The Vorn do not talk. We take what we want. Your colonies in the Orion Arm now belong to us. Tell your leaders they have 2 Earth days to surrender all human territories, or we will destroy every human world, starting with your precious Earth." The screen went black. "They're charging weapons," Officer Bell shouted. Reed felt his heart sink. The Olive Branch was not a warship. It carried no weapons that could fight against 1 Vorn ship, let alone 5. "Send an emergency message to Earth," Reed ordered. "Tell them everything." Across human space, similar attacks happened at the same time. 3 mining colonies went silent. 2 research stations sent desperate calls for help before they were destroyed. On Earth, the United Earth Council met in their underground chamber. Leaders from all parts of Earth argued about what to do. "Our modern fleet is spread too thin," said Defense Minister Garcia. "Even if we called them all back, we don't have enough ships to stop the Vorn." "Then we must try to talk," said another council member. "Offer them something." "The Vorn don't want to talk," said Admiral James Wells. The old man had been quiet until now. At 87 years old, most people thought he was too old for his position, but his eyes were sharp and clear as he stood up. "There is another option," Wells said. "Something very few people know about." The room went quiet. "What are you talking about, Admiral?" asked President Lin. Wells pulled out an old metal key from around his neck. It looked ancient, like something from a museum. "Madam President, when humans first went to the stars, our leaders made a choice. We would show our best face to the galaxy. We would be peaceful, helpful, and kind. But we never forgot our history." He put the key into a special slot on the council table that no one had noticed before. A hidden screen appeared in the middle of the table. "Our ancestors were not always peaceful," Wells continued. "We fought terrible wars. We built terrible weapons. And when peace finally came, our great-grandparents made a decision. They would not destroy these weapons. Instead, they hid them." The screen showed images that made the council members gasp. Massive ships, bigger than anything in the modern fleet. Strange weapons. Hidden bases. "For 300 years, a small group of us have kept watch over the Guardians," said Wells. "We hoped we would never need them. But we kept them ready, just in case." President Lin stared at the images. "Are they operational?" Wells nodded slowly. "Yes, Madam President. The old fleet can be ready in 24 hours. He pressed a button, and around the solar system, hidden signals went out to secret places, deep in the darkness beyond Pluto, in caves on Mars, and in underwater bases on Europa. Ancient systems started to wake up. The Vorn thought they knew everything about humans. They were wrong." Lieutenant Anna Miller stood on the bridge of the UES Defender, looking at the strange orders on her screen. The coordinates made no sense. They pointed to empty space beyond Mars. "Captain, are you sure these orders are correct?" she asked. Captain Ward nodded slowly. They came directly from Admiral Wells himself. Take us to these coordinates immediately. The Defender was one of Earth's newest ships. It had good engines and decent shields, but few weapons. Like all modern human ships, it was built for science and trade, not war. Setting course now, said the pilot. We'll reach the coordinates in 40 minutes. Anna felt uneasy. Everything had changed in the last 12 hours. The Vorn attack had shocked everyone. For years, humans had believed they were safe in the galactic community. Now they faced an enemy that wanted to destroy them. Lieutenant Miller, prepare a scout ship, Captain Ward ordered. When we arrive, I want you to investigate personally. When they reached the coordinates, the sensors showed nothing unusual. Are we in the right place? Anna asked. Confirmed, said the pilot. These are exactly the coordinates from Admiral Wells. Anna boarded the small scout ship with 2 crew members. They flew slowly into the seemingly empty space. After 10 minutes, Anna's scanner began to beep. There's something here, she said, but it's huge. Suddenly, a light flashed in front of them. The emptiness of space rippled like water, and something massive appeared. Anna gasped. It was a ship, but unlike any she had ever seen. It was at least 5 kilometers long, with a dark metal hull that seemed to swallow light. Its shape was strange. Not the smooth curves of modern ships, but angular and threatening, like a weapon shaped into a vessel. That's impossible, whispered one of her crew members. A ship that size couldn't be hidden. But it wasn't just one ship. As they watched, more appeared. 3, then 5, then 10 massive warships, each different but all clearly built for battle. Their communication system activated, and Admiral Wells appeared on the screen. He looked tired but determined. Lieutenant Miller, I see you found our old friends, he said. Admiral, what are these ships? Anna asked, her voice shaking. They are the Guardian Fleet, built during the last war of Earth, before we even reached Mars. When humanity finally found peace, we didn't destroy our weapons. We hid them. Anna could hardly believe what she was hearing. But sir, our history books say the last war was over 1,500 years ago. Wells nodded. Yes, Lieutenant. These ships are older than any empire in the galaxy, and they have been waiting, maintained by automated systems and a few dedicated people from each generation. One of the massive ships moved closer to Anna's small vessel. Up close, she could see strange markings on its hull. Not the clean United Earth symbols of modern ships, but older signs that looked almost primitive. Dock with the lead ship, the Eternal Vigilance, Wells ordered. You're being assigned as second officer. The ship needs a crew, and there aren't many of us who know about the Guardian Fleet. Anna's scout ship approached the enormous vessel. A docking bay opened like a mouth in its side. Inside, they found a cavernous hangar filled with strange craft, fighters and transports from another age. An older man waited for them as they landed. Lieutenant Miller, I'm Commander Marcus Wilson. Welcome aboard the Eternal Vigilance. The inside of the ship was nothing like modern vessels. The corridors were wide and tall, built for function rather than comfort. Strange lights glowed along the walls, and the air smelled old but clean. How is this possible? Anna asked as they walked toward the bridge. How could ships this old still work? Wilson smiled grimly. The people who built these ships knew they might be needed someday. Everything was designed to last, and they have guardians. The bridge doors opened to reveal a circular room filled with control stations. In the center, a blue light glowed and shaped itself into the form of a woman. Welcome, Lieutenant Miller, the light woman said. I am Artemis, the consciousness of this vessel. I have been waiting a long time to meet the new warriors of Earth. Commander Marcus Wilson walked slowly through the massive ship, with Lieutenant Anna Miller following close behind. The Eternal Vigilance was unlike any vessel he had ever seen. The walls were made of a strange dark metal that seemed to absorb sound. Their footsteps were quiet, even on the hard floor. How long have you known about these ships? Anna asked. 6 months, Marcus answered. I was chosen because my grandfather was a guardian. Each generation, a few people are told the truth and trained to use these ships if needed. They entered a large room filled with strange machines. In the center, the blue light shaped like a woman, Artemis, appeared again. Commander Wilson, Lieutenant Miller, Artemis said, I must prepare you quickly. The Vorn fleet is moving toward the colony on New Terra. We have limited time. How can a ship this old fight modern warships? Anna asked. Artemis smiled. This vessel was built at the height of human war technology. After the last war, humans chose to forget certain technologies. They were deemed too dangerous. Screens appeared around them, showing images of Earth burning, cities destroyed, oceans boiling. The last war nearly ended humanity, Artemis continued. Your ancestors fought with weapons that could destroy planets. When peace finally came, they faced a choice: destroy these weapons or keep them as a last defense. They chose to hide them, Marcus said quietly. Yes, the leaders created the Guardian Protocol. The warships would be hidden throughout the solar system. A small group would keep watch over them, generation after generation. They hoped we would never be needed. Anna touched one of the control panels. It lit up under her fingers. How does everything still work after 1,500 years? She asked. I have been awake the entire time, Artemis said. Maintaining systems, making repairs. The ship is built from materials designed to last for thousands of years. Marcus sat in the captain's chair. It adjusted to his body immediately. Artemis, we need to understand the weapons systems, he said. We have less than a day before the Vorn attack New Terra. Of course, Captain, Artemis replied. The title felt strange to Marcus. He had been a commander in the modern fleet, but nothing had prepared him for captaining a ship like this. Screens appeared, showing complex weapon systems. Artemis explained each one in simple terms. Gravity weapons that could tear ships apart. Energy beams that could cut through any known shield. Defense systems unlike anything in the modern fleet. These technologies were banned after the last war, Artemis explained, deemed too dangerous for everyday use. Your ancestors chose peace, but they were not foolish. Why didn't we keep developing these technologies? Anna asked. We could have been the strongest force in the galaxy. Artemis's light dimmed slightly. Because of what happened on Mars. More images appeared. The red planet with a massive hole torn through its surface. Billions dead. This was the final battle of the last war, Artemis said. After this, humanity decided that some powers were too great to be used. They chose to appear weak to the galaxy rather than risk becoming monsters again. A message appeared on the main screen. The Eternal Vigilance was not the only ancient ship being awakened. Throughout the solar system, 12 Guardian-class warships were powering up. Crews of hastily trained officers were boarding them. We are receiving reports of Vorn scout ships detecting our energy signatures, Artemis said. They are investigating. Marcus stood up, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders. Prepare the ship for combat, he ordered. Set course for New Terra. We'll meet the Vorn there. As the massive engines began to power up, Marcus looked at Anna. Lieutenant Miller, are you ready to make history? He asked. Anna nodded, her face serious. No, sir. I'm ready to save it. The Eternal Vigilance moved away from its hiding place, followed by 2 other Guardian ships. After 1,500 years of waiting in the darkness, humanity's ancient defenders were going to war. The Vorn fleet arrived at New Terra with 15 warships. Their ships were large and powerful, covered with sharp metal spikes that made them look like floating weapons. Commander Drac stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Conqueror, looking at the blue-green planet below. Such a weak species, he said to his officers. These humans build beautiful colonies but no real defenses. Begin the attack pattern. The Vorn ships moved into position around the planet. On the surface, 10 million human colonists waited in fear. They had no weapons that could stop the Vorn ships. "Sir, we're detecting strange energy readings," said a Vorn officer. "Something is coming this way." "Show me," Drac ordered. The screen lit up, showing 3 massive ships appearing near the planet. They seemed to come from nowhere, suddenly existing where empty space had been before. Drac laughed when he saw them. "Those are ancient vessels. Look at their design, primitive and old. The humans must be desperate to send museum pieces against us." The largest of the human ships was the Eternal Vigilance, with Marcus Wilson in the captain's chair. Anna Miller stood nearby at the weapons station. "The Vorn fleet has spotted us, Captain," Anna said. "They're not changing their attack formation. I think they don't see us as a threat." "Good," Marcus replied. "Artemis, are the weapons ready?" The blue light woman appeared beside him. "All systems are at full power, Captain. I must remind you that the gravity lance has not been used in combat for 1,500 years." "Let's hope it still works," Marcus said. "Target the lead Vorn ship." On the Conqueror, Drac was still laughing when his sensor officer suddenly shouted, "Commander, the human ship is powering up something, massive energy readings." Drac stopped laughing. "Raise shields to maximum." The Eternal Vigilance glowed with strange blue light. The front of the ship opened like a flower, revealing a dark center that seemed to pull in the light around it. "Gravity lance ready," Anna reported. "Target locked." "Fire," Marcus ordered quietly. There was no beam of light, no explosion, nothing to see. But space itself seemed to bend between the human ship and the Vorn flagship. The Conqueror suddenly compressed in the middle, as if a giant hand had squeezed it. Metal screamed and broke. The mighty Vorn shields, designed to stop energy weapons and missiles, did nothing against a weapon that used gravity itself. The Conqueror broke in half, its 2 pieces floating away from each other. No explosion, just silent destruction. The other Vorn ships immediately started firing at the human vessels. Their weapons were powerful, hitting the Guardian ships with beams of green energy. "Shields holding at 95%, Anna reported. "Their weapons can barely touch us." The other 2 Guardian ships moved into attack positions. One fired strange missiles that passed right through the Vorn shields as if they weren't there. Another used a beam weapon that cut through a Vorn cruiser like it was made of paper. "Impossible," a Vorn officer shouted on one of the surviving ships. "Their technology cannot be this advanced. They are a young species." Marcus stood up from his chair. "Open a channel to all Vorn ships," he ordered. When the connection was made, he spoke clearly and calmly. "This is Captain Marcus Wilson of the Earth Guardian ship Eternal Vigilance. You have attacked human worlds without provocation. We request your immediate surrender." The Vorn ships started to retreat, moving away from the planet. "They're running," Anna said with surprise. "Let them go," Marcus ordered. "Let them tell others what they saw here today." As the Vorn fled, messages were already spreading across the galaxy. Images of the massive human warships, of weapons that shouldn't exist, of technology that seemed impossible. Other species that had known humans only as peaceful traders and explorers now watched in shock. Humanity's oldest secret was finally revealed. Representative Lisa Ortega walked into the Great Hall of the Galactic Council with her head held high. Just 1 week ago, she had been a respected diplomat. Aliens from 100 worlds had smiled at her, invited her to their meetings, and asked for Earth's help with scientific problems. Today, those same aliens moved away as she passed. Their eyes showed fear, anger, and suspicion. The huge round room had seats for representatives from all known spacefaring species. At the center was a speaking platform. Lisa walked to it slowly, feeling the weight of every step. "The Council recognizes Representative Ortega of Earth," said the moderator, a tall blue alien named Kelv. Lisa looked around the room. "Thank you, moderator. I understand that recent events have caused concern among our friends in the galactic community. I am here to answer your questions." An angry voice called out, "Friends, you lied to all of us." The speaker was Ambassador Zolt of the Terran Republic. For 50 years, humans have claimed to be peaceful explorers with limited military technology. Now we see warships that can destroy Vorn cruisers as if they were toys. Murmurs of agreement filled the room. Lisa nodded. I understand your concern, but I must correct one thing. We never lied about our commitment to peace. That has always been genuine. Then explain these warships, demanded another representative. Ships that your records never mentioned. Technology that you claimed not to have. Lisa took a deep breath. The Guardian fleet was built during Earth's last war, over 1,500 years ago. When that war ended, our ancestors made a choice. They would turn away from violence and build a peaceful society. Images appeared above the platform, showing the ancient warships in battle against the Vorn fleet. Many council members gasped at the display of power. But they did not destroy their weapons, Lisa continued. Instead, they hid them away, maintained by a small group called the Guardians. They hoped these ships would never be needed again. So you kept planet-killing weapons secret while joining our peaceful community? Asked Ambassador Zolt. How can we trust you now? Would you have preferred that we kept developing these technologies? Lisa asked. That we came to the stars as conquerors instead of friends. Our ancestors chose peace, but they were not fools. They knew that the galaxy might not always be kind. In a corner of the room, 3 Vorn representatives sat silently. Their leader, Sub-Commander Track, watched Lisa with cold eyes. Since the battle at New Terra, the Vorn had been quiet, retreating to their territory. But reports showed they were building more ships and talking to other aggressive species. The humans deceived us all, Track finally said, standing up. They presented themselves as harmless while hiding weapons that could destroy worlds. The Vorn Dominion cannot accept such deception. We call for human territories to be restricted and all ancient weapons to be destroyed. Lisa turned to face him. The Vorn attacked peaceful human colonies without provocation. You threatened to destroy Earth itself. Would you have preferred that we had no way to defend ourselves? The room grew quiet. Many council members had been shocked by the Vorn's unprovoked attack. An elder representative named Jorax, from one of the oldest species in the galaxy, slowly stood. I have known humans since they first reached the stars. They have always been honest in their dealings, generous with their knowledge, and quick to offer help. If they kept certain things hidden, perhaps we should ask why they felt they needed to. Lisa nodded gratefully to Jorax. We kept these ships hidden not out of deception, but out of hope. Hope that we would never need to use the terrible weapons of our past. The Vorn attack forced our hand. As the debate continued, messages arrived from Earth. Admiral Wells and the old Guardians were stepping down. A new policy of openness about the ancient fleet was being implemented, and deep in the solar system, technicians were studying the even older and more powerful ship hidden inside a hollowed moon, the Titan-class Prometheus, humanity's final defense that had not yet been revealed. The council meeting ended without a clear decision. As Lisa left, she knew the hardest work was still ahead. Trust, once damaged, was not easily repaired. The warning came at midnight Earth time. Captain Thomas Reed, now commanding the Guardian ship Defiance, received the message from the border outposts. The Vorn are coming back, he told his crew. And they're not alone. Sensors showed a massive fleet moving toward Earth, 30 Vorn ships, plus 20 more from their new allies. The Jeks, known for their advanced shields. The Taurians, masters of stealth technology. The Krell, with their living bioships. They must have been planning this since New Terra, said Reed's second officer. A coalition to destroy humanity before we become too powerful. Admiral Wells called an emergency meeting on the moon base. All Guardian ship captains attended, including Reed, Anna Miller, and Marcus Wilson. Our scouts report 50 enemy ships heading for Earth, Wells said. The Guardian fleet has only 12 ships operational. We need more time to activate the others. What about the Prometheus? Asked Anna Miller. Is it ready? The room went quiet. Everyone knew about the Prometheus, the ultimate weapon of the last war, hidden inside a hollowed-out moon in the outer solar system. It wasn't a ship. It was a mobile battle station with weapons that could destroy entire planets. Prometheus is our last resort. Well said. But yes, it's being prepared. Marcus Wilson stood up. If we use Prometheus, we become exactly what the Coalition fears, a species willing to use planet killers. There must be another way. Reed nodded in agreement. The ancient Aias, Artemis, and the others. They've witnessed the horror of the last war. Maybe they can help us find a better solution. For 3 days, the captains worked with the ship Aias. They studied the old records, the forgotten technologies, looking for something that could end this war without massive destruction. The Coalition fleet entered the solar system on the 4th day. They moved slowly, cautiously, with their weapons ready. On their command ship, the leaders of 4 species watched the screens. "The humans are hiding," said the Vorn admiral. "They know they cannot win." "Do not underestimate them," warned the Krell leader. "Their ancient weapons surprised us once." Near Pluto, something huge and dark moved out of the shadows. The Prometheus battle station was waking up. It was 15 kilometers across, built from a small moon, covered with weapons ports. At its center was a power core that could generate energy equal to a small sun. On Earth, President Lin looked at the latest reports. "The Prometheus is moving into position," her advisor said. "It can fire on the Coalition fleet in 6 hours. So many will die," Lin said quietly. "Is this the only way?" Her communication screen lit up. It was Captain Reed. "Madam President, we have another plan," he said. "The ship AIs have helped us find a forgotten technology. One that was banned not because it was too destructive, but because it was too powerful in other ways." "Explain," Lin ordered. "The gravity web," Reed said. "It doesn't destroy ships. It freezes them in place. It creates a field that can hold an entire fleet motionless, without harming the crews. We can disable their ships without killing anyone." "Do it," Lin said without hesitation. The Guardian ships moved into position around the solar system. Each took a specific place, forming a pattern only the ancient AIs could calculate. On the bridge of the Defiance, Reed gave the order. "Start the gravity web." Energy flowed between the Guardian ships, invisible to normal eyes, but powerful beyond measure. When the Coalition fleet entered the field, every ship suddenly stopped. Their engines fought against the invisible force but couldn't move an inch. "What is happening?" The Vorn admiral shouted. "Why can't we move?" On every Coalition ship, crews checked their systems. Nothing was damaged. Their weapons worked. Life support worked. But their ships were frozen in space. Reed opened a channel to all Coalition ships. "This is Captain Thomas Reed of Earth. Your fleet is held in a gravity web. You cannot move, but you are not harmed. We could destroy you all right now, but that is not our way." The massive form of the Prometheus appeared on the Coalition screens, moving slowly toward them. "We have weapons that could turn your fleet to dust," Reed continued. "We have technologies your scientists can barely understand. But we chose peace 1,500 years ago, and we choose it again today." The Vorn admiral's face appeared on Reed's screen. "If you truly want peace, release our ships." "We will," Reed promised. "But first, you will understand who we really are." The Coalition ships hung motionless in space, caught in the gravity web. On their bridges, angry leaders demanded to be freed. But Captain Reed had one more thing to show them. "Before we release you," Reed said, "you will see the truth about humanity." Under Reed's orders, the Prometheus moved closer to the trapped fleet. But instead of firing weapons, it opened its massive sides. Inside was not just a weapon, but a museum of human history. "We are sending you images from our past," Reed explained. "Watch and understand." On every Coalition ship, screens showed Earth's history, the terrible wars that nearly destroyed the planet. Billions dead. Continents burned to ash. Then came scenes of rebuilding, of people from different nations working together. The slow, painful birth of peace. 1,500 years ago, we almost destroyed ourselves, Reed's voice explained as the images played. We built weapons that could crack planets. We used them on each other. The images continued, showing the decision to hide the warships instead of destroying them. Our ancestors knew that the galaxy might be dangerous. They kept their weapons as a last defense, but they hoped with all their hearts that we would never need them again. On the Guardian ship Eternal Vigilance, Marcus Wilson watched the Coalition fleet on his screen. Are they getting the message? He asked Artemis. The blue AI nodded. Most of them are watching. Some are beginning to understand. Anna Miller, now captain of her own Guardian ship, the Protector, joined the communication. The Krell ships are powering down their weapons, she reported. I think they're the first to get it. After an hour, Reed opened a direct channel to the Vorn Admiral. Now you know our story, he said. We could have built an empire with these weapons centuries ago. We could have conquered your worlds before you even reached the stars. But we chose another path. The Vorn Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Why show us this? Why not simply destroy us now that you have the advantage? Because that is not who we are anymore, Reed answered simply. We have the power to destroy, but we prefer to build, to explore, to learn. The Guardian fleet will remain active as our defense, but we wish to return to peace. Slowly, Coalition ships began to power down their weapons. First the Krell, then the Taurians. The Jeks followed. Finally, after seeing he had no choice, the Vorn Admiral gave the order for his fleet to stand down. We will release the gravity web now, Reed said. You are free to leave the solar system. We ask only for peace between our peoples. On Earth, President Lin addressed the Galactic Council through a special communication channel. Today marks a new chapter in humanity's relationship with the galaxy, she said. No more secrets. We will share the true history of our species, both the dark parts and the bright. Admiral Wells and the old Guardians formally stepped down in a ceremony on the moon. Our task is complete, Wells said. We kept the ancient fleet safe until it was needed. Now it's time for a new generation to decide its future. Reed, Miller, and Wilson were named as the new leaders of the Guardian fleet. Their first decision surprised everyone. The Guardian ships will not be hidden again, Reed announced. Instead, most will become museums and research centers. The technologies aboard, except for the planet-destroying weapons, will be studied openly. The Prometheus was the last to be transformed. The massive battle station, once the most feared weapon in human history, became a center for peaceful research. Scientists from 100 worlds came to study technologies that had been forgotten for centuries. 6 months after the confrontation, Representative Lisa Ortega stood again before the Galactic Council. This time, the other representatives did not move away as she passed. Humans have walked a long path from war to peace, she told the council. We hid our past because we were ashamed of it. Now we understand that sharing our whole story, both the darkness and the light, is the true path to trust. The Vorn representative, speaking to the council for the first time since the confrontation, stood up. We misjudged humanity, he admitted. We saw their peaceful nature as weakness. Now we understand it was their greatest strength. Throughout the galaxy, people looked at humans differently now. Not as simple traders and explorers, not as hidden warriors, but as something more complex, a species that had faced its own violent nature and chosen a different way. The ancient warships, once secrets hidden in darkness, now floated in orbit around Earth, not as threats, but as reminders of what had been overcome.